Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to MBA's Member Orientation Webinar, which we host these calls monthly. And before we begin, I'm going to touch on some housekeeping items. Go ahead, Jordan. Very good. So all participants are in muted-only mode, so there's no distractions. And we will be conducting poll questions after each section of the presentation, and we will have MBA staff to follow up with all of you on any areas that you are interested in learning more about. And you can also pose some questions in the webinar control panel on the right side of your screen, and we will try and get to these questions at the end of the webinar as well. And we also have uploaded a copy of the presentation and some resource offerings that you could download, which is also in the webinar control panel on the right side of your screen. Very good. So again, welcome to MBA's orientation call. I'm Tricia Migliazzo, Vice President of Member Engagement. And with me here today are my colleagues, and we will be presenting the membership benefit pillars and how to get active and engaged in your industry's association. But first off, I just want to thank you all for your membership and supporting the work that we do for you and for our industry's behalf. So MBA as a whole represents all market segments of the real estate finance industry. We have a very diverse membership of over 2,300 member companies today, which includes independent mortgage banks, community banks, credit unions, commercial banks, servicers, investors, vendors, and others. And 80% of our regular residential members are community lenders, which are small to mid-size IMBs, community banks, and credit unions. And this pie chart on the slide represents members truly by company type and gives you a good visual of our overall membership composition today. 2017 was an all-star year for us at MBA, and it was our most successful year in our 104-year history. And MBA is the strongest it has been in terms of member participation, growth, and retention. And here are a few numbers we'd like to highlight for you. Year to date, we've awarded over $3 million in housing assistance to over 2,100 families in 40 states through MBA's Open Doors Foundation. We have over 40,000 followers on social media through platforms such as Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. We have over 27,000 grassroots advocates through our Grassroots Lobbying Network, which we affectionately call MAW, or our Mortgage Action Alliance. We have produced over 9,600 communications to Congress and state legislators through our policy and advocacy team. We have over 150 education programs through MBA Education. We served over 12,000 individuals through that platform last year. We have over 140 staff here at MBA based in DC. We have 50 research products and services. We have over 40 plus committees and councils that you all can participate and engage in. We host on average 18 to 20 conferences and workshops per year. Last year we had nearly 19,000 industry professionals attend those events. And we have 25 plus partnerships offerings that members receive MBA discounts on. We have also formed strategic partnerships with the GSEs, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, as well as with 2 national cooperatives, Capital Markets Cooperative and Lenders One. MBA members receive discounts off of the entrance and renewal fees with these cooperatives, as well as 50% off of application and reactivation fees with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, with the savings of up to $2,500 per application. We also have a Member Advantage program where members receive discounts with over 25 companies on products and services, and a lot of the details on these various benefits and participating companies can be found through our member resources page. MBA membership is company-wide, and anyone within your company gets access to member benefits, which includes access to our online member portal, which is My MBA. And here is where you can update your company roster, access your company profile, download the MBA member logo, and have access to our member directory. We have over 70,000 individual records, and it's a great area to do sourcing, find your colleagues, get contact information. It's really a nice tool. And our membership year runs 10/1 through 9/30. You also get access to our e-newsletters. MBA Newslink is delivered in your inbox daily, which covers top stories from national publications and featured articles from MBA journalists. MBA Insight is also a publication which is delivered weekly into your inbox, which highlights our industry's major issues and latest news, in-depth stories, blogs, and videos, also written and produced by MBA staff. And lastly, we have MBA Servicing Insights, which is delivered every week right into your inbox, which is, again, provides news and issues that are servicing related. Okay, and so now we're going to have the poll question. So participants can answer these questions. If you need more information about anything that I just briefly covered, we're happy to help you. And also, if you do need to get your credentials, your username and password set up to access My MBA, the member portal, just let us know here and we will help you with that as well. Okay, just give it a couple more seconds.
Okay, I think we're good, so go back.
Okay. All right, thank you, Jordan. Okay, my colleagues that are next up are Tamara King and Alden Knowlton, and they are going to be covering policy development and advocacy. Thank you, Tamara and Alden, for joining us.
Well, no, thank you, Tricia, and thank you all for coming to this webinar and for your membership. So I want to talk to you about the policy area, and one of the big reasons why companies join the MBA is because of our effective advocacy in DC and the states. Through really multiple venues, including conference calls, emails, in-person meetings, and online discussion forums, we make sure that we get your input on policy and business issues and convey them accurately and loudly to key policymakers. And sometimes we need your assistance to underscore our message. Quite honestly, you're really at the centerpiece of helping us underscore our message. At times we have conference calls or in-person meetings with members and policymakers, both congressional, federal regulators, and on the state level, where we actually bring in you all to help us really explain and give color around the business needs that we have so that they really fully understand our advocacy efforts. And we have connections to all of the major policymakers on the federal and state level to ensure that the industry's position is known and understood. The government affairs staff is in regular communications with all elected officials on the Hill who have influence on legislation that impacts our industry from any way, and regulators at all levels, from senior management to program managers. And I really actually want to stress that I personally work on the policy side, and it's been really important to make sure that not only we have inroads to the senior executives who definitely can understand the big picture strategic importance of our advocacy, but it's also critical to have contact with program managers when you have an issue with an FHA regulation, for example, that doesn't make sense and you need clarification, and for whatever reason you're not being able to get in touch with people either at the Hawks or in DC. We have the ability to make those connections on your behalf and help you get answers. So that's really what we do. On the state policy, we work with our state association partners to advocate for the industry and the states. And we take a lead role in representing the industry before groups of state regulators like the National Mortgage Licensing System, or NMLS, or the Conference of State Bank Supervisors. So how do we do all of these things? I mean, I've talked about, and Trisha's talked about the team here in DC from MBA, but I have to say it's really a team effort. And what I mean by that is, although we have a lot of in-house expertise, the real power of our message comes from your input and engagement. If you've ever read through one of our comment letters, you've seen that we often have examples of practical applications and specific examples of how a policy will impact or is currently impacting the mortgage industry. And that's really where member engagement becomes so critical. Our advocacy is so good because we work with you, and we have knowledgeable and engaged members to highlight for us the pain points of what you're currently experiencing, or tell us what's working so that we can make sure that that remains. So it's really your involvement with our committees that makes the difference in why we are so good at what we do. And our results are actually really good. So I won't go through all of the boxes here, but these are just a sampling of some of our recent wins and some of the policy advocacy wins that we're really proud of. As you can see, they range from wins on the state level, on the legislative level, as well as in the regulatory space. So we are really very broad in what we're dealing with. We are not just focused on one area. So now the big question is how do you get involved? How do you get your views heard here at MBA? So all of the committees that are listed in the top portion of the slide that you see here are open to all of you, and all of them have conference calls and in-person meetings. Usually the in-person meetings are once or twice a year at one of our major conferences where that particular issue area makes sense. So for example, the Loan Administration Committee has an in-person meeting not only at our annual convention, but also at the Servicing Conference. And kind of likewise, the Secondary and Capital Markets they have a meeting, in-person meeting at annual, as well as the Secondary and Capital Markets Conference in New York. But we all of them have regular conference calls where you can be involved really quite just at your desk. We also have business segment networking groups. We have, as you see here, the IMB network, Community Banking Credit Network, Warehouse Lenders Network, and we'll add, and I'll mention, we also have a wholesale lenders network too that was recently added. And those are different than the policy groups. The networking groups are really an opportunity for like-minded business segments to get together without any vendors, without any kind of distractions of anybody else in the room, to have really an honest conversation and exchange ideas about the business needs of those specific segments. So for example, HMDA and TRID impacted the entire industry. Everybody in our industry was impacted. However, if you're an independent mortgage bank, you may have a different take on it than the community banker if you're a credit union. And we give you opportunities to work through policy and business issues in those groups. I know that everything that I've said sounds daunting, but a couple of things to note on both the policy committees and the segment groups. The same person doesn't have to be on all of the groups. Your participation is based on your time commitment and interest in a specific topic, so you can decide when you want to be more engaged or less engaged. What I always encourage people to do is to sign up and at least receive the information. You will get emails, and then you can make the decision of when you can be in and out. But I think really the important thing is that you do sign up and that you are getting the emails, getting the information, and then you can make the decision. I definitely don't want to leave off information about the state legislative database. It's a free membership tool that allows any employee of a member company to track any piece of state legislation in the country at any time. You can also get email alerts when a bill is moving. We run the state and local group runs meetings, monthly meetings, trainings, and can get you or your members of your team signed up for one of those. So again, underscore the most important thing I would suggest once I finish talking, please make sure you hear my strong encouragement to at least sign up for some of these groups, decide how you want to be engaged, but just make sure that you're keeping in touch with us here at the association. With that, I think I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Autumn.
Great, thank you, and thank you all for the opportunity to talk about a couple of our advocacy programs. I'm going to really focus in on the top one that you'll see on your screen, the Mortgage Action Alliance, or MA. That's MBA's free grassroots advocacy network, which provides members and non-members, actually. It is a program that is open to anybody who works in the real estate finance industry. So you do not necessarily have to be an MBA member to participate, but we use it to do a couple of things. One, to keep you updated about what's going on in Washington, D.C., and oftentimes in New York state legislatures as it pertains to the industry and legislation and regulations that are coming up, are being voted on, or being considered, drafted, and we give a regular update about that. Obviously, we're in an election year, so we've been sending a lot more election updates as primary season continues to be underway. And the other way we use it is to communicate with you and sending what we call calls to action, and that's when a piece of legislation is being debated or introduced up here in Washington in the House or the Senate, or we also do state-specific ones where if you're in a particular state and the State House or State Senate is considering a piece of legislation that could impact the industry, we work with the state MBA or the local MBA depending on the particular issue, and we target that to individuals who reside in that state or that legislative district. But essentially what happens is our platform matches you to your legislator by using your zip code. So you don't even have to know who your elected official is before you answer a call to action. And you type in your information, it matches you to your legislator, and it pops up with a pre-drafted message that has been written by a combination of our lobby team here in Washington and the subject matter expert on one of the policy teams here. So it's been vetted by everybody here, and you can choose to send it as is, or you can customize it and add in a personal story about how that issue or that piece of legislation has personally impacted you, a customer or a borrower, or just the impact that it's had on your business at large in the particular state or district. So really make it very easy. You can participate in less than 30 seconds. You can have that message off to Congress. And I did mention it is an election year, so elected officials are paying attention to constituents and voters who are weighing in on issues that impact them at the state and district level. So it's a great way to stay engaged. And we've had pretty big last couple of years in terms of movement that we've seen where advocacy really has made a difference. And I'll highlight a particular experience that we had towards the end of last year. Everyone probably remembers seeing a lot of press around the tax cuts that passed at the end of last year, but the Senate Finance Committee in November, right around Thanksgiving, released the text of their bill. And the bill contained a provision that would have required any lender that retains servicing to pay tax on the MSR at the time that it was created and not as the income is received under current law. And obviously that would have been kind of devastating on the flow of capital that supports a robust and competitive market. So we used MA, and within 6 hours of when they were going to start deliberations on this language, we had over 9,000 letters sent to senators on Capitol Hill, and we succeeded in getting an exclusion for mortgage servicing contracts in the final Senate bill and conference report that was signed into law at the end of last year. So that's just kind of a good example of how impactful grassroots advocacy from actual practitioners in those districts, in those states, can be, and it can have a positive impact that benefits the larger industry. And the Wall Street Journal even highlighted that is one of the key wins for industries writ large in the final bill. So that was a really cool experience. It's really easy to get involved. We have a mobile app as well. You can search the App Store or Google Play for the Mortgage Action Alliance and download it for free, and join 27,000 of your peers across the industry to start staying informed and getting engaged in our political advocacy efforts. The other two programs are our Political Action Committee. You can see some information there. And then National Advocacy Conference and the State and Local Workshop, our annual event. The State and Local Workshop always precedes the National Advocacy Conference in the spring, and it's a great opportunity for state leaders to come together and make sure that best practices can be shared, that our operations and missions are aligned with larger priorities here at the MBA, and advocacy is always a hot topic. And then NAC, or National Advocacy Conference, is when we have about 400 people from all across the country coming in, and we do a day and a half. We do a little bit of programming with elected officials and administration representatives coming to speak to the group, and then we do a briefing led by our policy experts here about some of the key issues that we're trying to take to the Hill. And then the next day, we actually set up individual meetings with your elected officials so that you can have in-person meetings with them to discuss key issues and how those are playing back home. So again, kind of another extension, but more person to person than MA there, but also a big and impactful event, and that is a member benefit for MBA members. It's only open to MBA members. So really great and easy ways to get involved with MBA advocacy, but like most things here, our advocacy is only as strong as the members behind it, so we encourage you to get involved and stay engaged through our advocacy programs. Thank you.
Great. All right, very good. Thank you, Alden. Okay, and we're going to now quickly have a set of poll questions. If there's any information that you need that Tamara or Alden covered that we can follow up on, happy to help. Okay, Jordan. All right, thank you. Thank you both. Okay, with us is our next presenter, who is Joel Kahn, who's our AVP of Economic and Industry Forecasting. Thank you for joining us, Joel.
Thanks, Tricia. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm going to run through some of MBA's research capabilities and how you can take advantage of us as a resource and also get engaged. We basically have a team that does single-family, commercial, and industry technology work. And if you see here, we cover a wide array of topics. And so I think, starting with really what you have available as business intelligence tools and information, we have a forecast where we look at macroeconomic conditions and rates and originations, down to more single-family lender-specific surveys, such as our application survey, our credit index, and we have our national delinquency survey that we've done going back to the 1970s. Just a broad number of single-family surveys and offerings, in addition to the broader sort of macro look at things. How do you get more data? I mean, well, you guys are members and can definitely access the data, but also there are opportunities to participate, and participants get everything back at no cost to them, other than the cost of submitting data. But even for subscribers and even for participants, we do go a little bit further, and we have some capability to customize the reports, to do more state and local level data cuts where applicable. So definitely opportunities there for you to take advantage of, and especially this definitely works out for people who have a more localized, smaller footprint. Another item that we have is a variety of workshops, webinars, and our staff that are often at conferences giving economic outlook. Going back to workshops, we've put on an M&A workshop, a condo lending workshop after the tax plan or tax reform. Mike Fratantonio, chief economist, did a free webinar for members on the impacts of tax reform, where he facilitated a discussion with other industry and tax experts just to talk about how the tax changes would impact the economy and the housing market as well. So those are some good examples of resources that we have available for you. like I said, at conferences, we'll always do an economic update, but we also help with facilitating some other panels and sessions. So there'll always be a research person present where you can kind of come to us and ask questions as well. And then finally, we also have other platforms for market updates. We have a market update that we film and we post on YouTube, and we do write commentaries on a monthly and hopefully soon more regular basis that we post to the MBA site. So what are some key offerings that are easy to access and available to you as members? First of all, I'll talk about the forecast. The forecast is actually up on the website for public consumption, but as members, you can send us an email or fill in a web form, and you can get on a distribution list where we'll send these out to you, whenever these are available. I always welcome people to follow up with me directly since I put it together to get more context around what we put out. In addition to that, we Chart of the Week, which I think is one of our biggest and broadest reaches from the research team. It's just a tool that we use to highlight to the industry what we're thinking really matters in any current time. So every Friday we send out a chart with some commentary on what we think was most interesting from a data perspective or even just from an outlook perspective that week. And this is available to you, and we always encourage people to send a link out to sign up for your entire staff if you need to. Another thing that we have is our state mortgage market profile. This is another free to member tool, so you can subscribe to this on an annual basis, and one of the biggest values of this really has been because it is state specific. It's been really useful for people who, again, have a very localized footprint or localized area of business. So we've even had members send it to their marketing department to use to create, marketing material to figure out who to target, where to target, that sort of thing. So that's another item that's been really well received from a membership. Finally, we do have a member-only resource or a resource center. There's an email address you can send any research questions to. It doesn't have to be a dissertation type topic. If you have a question about home sales and you want us to answer it, we're more than happy to help. So that's the last of the key offerings there. But definitely feel free to reach out whenever you have questions.
Okay, very good. So we're going to stop here for a second and list the poll questions for anybody who needs information on what you have just covered. Just give it a few seconds here. Okay, Jordan. Okay, go ahead and continue, Joel. Thank you.
All right, thanks. So moving on, I think the way to think about this breakout is, first we had sort of broader research. Now we're looking at more specific industry company level benchmarking, and this is a really big piece of what we do as well. Looking at, or at least providing members a way to benchmark themselves against their peers within the industry, within sort of more peer comparable groups, if you will, and this involves just a wide array of operational metrics. So we cover things like the cost of service, the cost to originate, what corporate allocations look like, what sales expenses are for lenders, default costs if you're in servicing. So just a really, really deep dive into company level metrics, and how that stacks up across the industry, and how people line up against each other. So, how does that happen? Well, there are a few different ways. We have broader, more aggregated reports that we compile that are available as subscriptions, available as free to members, depending on the cuts. But we also have in-person meetings where you can actually meet with other members of the industry that are comparable in size or comparable in business model to discuss face-to-face what some of the implications are, what challenges they're facing in local markets, or even just from a data standpoint. I'll get more into these in the next part of things, but I think these have been one of the most valuable tools for a lot of members, who are looking to figure out how they're doing relative to others in the industry. And again, with our experience dealing and setting up these meetings, we've had the luxury of having a broad view across all the different peer groups to see how the market is doing, what the unique challenges are for each peer group. So we're definitely here for you as a resource if you have other questions that MBA staff can answer. So some of the key highlights or key offerings from our benchmarking side of the department would be, the first would be the quarterly performance report, which is a report that we put together using data from the Mortgage Bankers Financial Reporting Forum, and that covers about 300 or so, maybe 350 independents that sell to Fannie and Freddie. These are reports, again, that have just a ton of data in them and very different metrics across the board from origination through servicing, and that's been really useful for a lot of independents who are looking to figure out where they stand. Now, taking this one step further, we actually have a Your Firm analysis that is free to members for some period of time. And what that is the ability for us to pull your company's numbers and line that up with the rest of the NBFRS sample. So that's something that's available to you as members, something that is clearly very useful. So definitely reach out to us if you're interested in that. The next item here is the peer group program, or the peer group roundtable that we put on in partnership with the Stratmore Group. This is something that is one of our flagship programs, and it covers a significant data collection, but we also give you back a huge data book with hundreds of pages of metrics, and also the opportunity to meet offsite in person with all the other companies in your peer group. So to give you an example, this past cycle we had about 100 or so companies split into 7 peer groups. I think each group size ranged from about 20 to 30 companies, somewhere there. And these are discussions that we have for a day and a half, and consist of just sort of the overview of how people do business, how their businesses are set up, and then diving into the data to see how the metrics lined up relative to the way the companies work. And again, this provided really good fodder for discussion, and even the in-person aspect, just to network and just to hear what your peers are going through as far as hot button issues and challenges to running the business. Third is our servicing operations study and forum, where it is very similar to the PGR or the peer group program, but with a strictly servicing focus. This does have a more aggregated data flavor to it, but at the same time, we've had about 40 to 60 companies over the last few years at any one time. And so this also presents a great opportunity for servicing managers, default managers, FP&A folks on the servicing side to get together to talk about the servicing data and to figure out, how they've done against their peers in the industry. Finally, the last highlight here is what we've done with the McLaughlin Group, and that's a residential compensation survey, which covers over 200 positions across, just sort of a standard lending or banking operation. If you participate in the survey, there's sort of a separate breakout session where there's a specific data discussion, a lot like the previous 2 programs. But just like the other 2, this is also a great opportunity for you to see, how you're doing relative to everyone else when it comes to compensation, and also just the challenges to hiring and retention. So with that ends our 4 featured items for this.
Very good. Thank you, Joel. So we're going to, again, submit the poll questions here for the participants. Okay, just give it a couple more seconds, Jordan.
All right.
All right. Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Joel. Okay.
Thanks.
Next, so thank you. So next up is my colleague David Uppen, who's our Associate Vice President of Education, Operations, and Programming, who's going to help us navigate through our immense education platform. Thank you, David, for joining us.
Thank you, Tricia. I am here to talk about MBA education, and as Tricia just said, our vast training platform, which we no doubt won't be able to get through it in its entirety. MBA education trained over 10,000 mortgage professionals last year through about 400 public and private program offerings. As you can see from this slide, we deliver training on the entire residential loan lifecycle through a variety of delivery methods. A good example of a regional workshop is our Advanced Risk Management for Mortgage Professionals, which just concluded yesterday here in Washington, D.C. That program is done in collaboration with the University of Maryland Smith School of Business. Our most widely known classroom offering is our School of Mortgage Banking 1, 2, and 3, delivered throughout the year and around the country. School of Loan Origination 1 and 2, and School of Mortgage Servicing are two of our more popular instructor-guided online courses. Instructor-guided online is, kind of what we call webinar on steroids, if you will, a little bit. It includes homework, case studies, discussion boards, sometimes book reports, so very involved, tries to mirror what you might see in a college or university setting, just delivered in an online format. MBA education has over 160 web-based self-study courses that cover all residential lending concepts. These are delivered on our learning management system or can be content licensed to you if you have your own learning management system and want to integrate any of the training with other training offerings you provide. And in a given year, MBA education hosts around 100 live webinars. As you can see on the right side of the slide here, members can save big on our program offerings, and we are always happy to offer group discounts on almost all of our program offerings. Finally, and for those that are eligible, MBA Education's Path to Diversity and Inclusion Scholarship is also available for our entire suite of program offerings. You do need to apply for the scholarship, and if approved, you're essentially granted a credit of up to $2,000 in a given calendar year for any of our training offerings. Applicants can receive the scholarship up to 3 times in their career. So a lot of people use the scholarship as an example to attend School of Mortgage Banking 1, 2, and 3 at what is in essence no cost to the individual or to the member company. MBA education is committed to developing what we call the lifelong learner. This slide illustrates how someone who is in loan production or loan administration or someone who is focused on moving into a management role might view our program offerings. This slide also highlights some offerings I haven't mentioned yet, including our Certified Mortgage Banker, our CMB designation, which really is what we consider to be kind of the pinnacle achievement when it comes to MBA education. We believe it really does differentiate individuals from those who don't have it and looking to take on executive leadership roles. And then our popular Future Leaders program, which we have both on the single family and commercial side, and the residential program is actually going on as we speak up in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania.
Okay, we're going to stop here and see if our folks have any questions on any of the content that you just covered. Okay, just give it a couple more seconds, Jordan. All right, very good.
Cool, thank you.
Okay, go ahead, David.
Yep. A subset of MBA education is our widely known Compliance Essentials program. Compliance Essentials is aimed at delivering comprehensive compliance training and guidance to members at an affordable price. Compliance Essentials includes resource guides, webinars and workshops, and our newly launched, and when I say new, I mean April 2018, newly launched Level 1 of our Certified Mortgage Compliance Professional designation, which I'll speak to on the next slide in a little bit more depth. This slide expands upon what Compliance Essentials has to offer you and your company. For resource guides, we are now up to 17 guides with recent updates in the past couple months to our vendor management guide, TRID, HMDA, social media and digital advertising, and our LO comp guide. All of these guides are available for purchase through our online store. And one of the key benefits of the guides is they do include complimentary updates as the rules inevitably evolve and new interpretations are made by the lawyers that author the guides. We have also recently launched 2 state-level products, which is kind of a new endeavor for Compliance Essentials. One that you'll see here in the middle, which is our successor and interest reports. There are 52 separate reports, which includes Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico, detailing the documents and steps that a servicer needs to take to verify a successor. Members, depending on your servicing footprint, members can purchase one state or you can purchase up to 52, and the price of the reports kind of is on a sliding tiered scale depending on how many you purchase. The second state-level product that we recently launched was a matrix on state-level requirements for mortgage payoff statements. And again, I think we've kind of covered almost all of the Dodd-Frank rules with our Compliance Essentials resource guide, so expect to see more out of Compliance Essentials when it comes to state-level requirements. We've already teed up acceleration requirements, which should be coming out in the next couple months, and we've talked to some members and legal experts about a few other topics. And then finally, our new Certified Mortgage Compliance Professional designation, or CMCP, which as I mentioned was launched in April, already has 175 enrollments as of this morning. Level 1 of the CMCP includes 18 web-based self-study courses that translate to around 25 hours of online training. They take the students kind of through a journey of the history and the evolution of regulatory compliance and residential lending, cover all of the key rules and regulations, including some that impact lenders at the state level. And then what we're really excited for, and we think kind of differentiates this program from anything else in the marketplace, is the final 4 courses, or what we call task-based courses. So not only do they teach you about the rules and the regs, but they come up with kind of common applications of the rules and test junior compliance or junior quality control professionals how to do some common jobs within regulatory compliance. And that is all I have.
Very good. Thank you, David. Very comprehensive. Okay, we're going to have the poll questions listed here. Okay. All right, Jordan.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, David. All right, next up is our colleague Rick Hill, who is the Vice President of Industry Technology, who is going to touch on some of the work we're doing in the technology space. Thanks, Rick, for joining us.
Thanks, Tricia. So, the technology is affecting our industry just like every other industry. Maybe a little bit of a latecomer to our industry, but nonetheless, it's accelerating very rapidly. We know that it can be daunting to try to keep abreast of change. And so MBA, we've got a bunch of different ways for you to keep informed as well as to participate in what it is that we're doing. So one of the things is that we've got a number of tools and resources that are available. Really just recently, in the last couple of months, our Technology Resource Center. This is a site that really tries to bring all of the technology activities, whether it's policy, conferences, education, or white papers, to one central site, so that if you are interested in looking at things from that perspective, you can go to the one site. David just finished talking about education. Education is not exclusive to the traditional underwriting or compliance or origination skills, but we do address educational activities for cybersecurity types of things, emerging technologies, digital mortgage, and things like that. So there's there's quite a bit there. And Dawn will come on in a minute and talk about all of our conferences, but we do have a conference that is devoted to technology as well as business solutions. So you might want to think about this as a conference that either technologists go to or those in your industry who are trying to figure out what opportunities are out there, what products are out there that might help your business. This is a great conference to attend to learn more about it. Now I'll come back and talk about MISMO a little bit separately. The middle column on this slide that you're seeing, one of the things is although we have a lot of resources, certainly the industry as a whole has a vast amount of resources that are available to help you. So MBA has two ways, or well, actually not just two ways, but two ways listed here for you to learn more about the opportunities that are out there or what's going on. And so our online vendor marketplace, this allows you to do a search, keyword search on MBA's membership to find a vendor, let's say, who might have a certain type of compliance product or a certain type of offering. We know that there could be 30 or 50 companies that might offer something. So having the ability to search this tool is very valuable to you. We just had yesterday our first live marketplace. So think about this as an online exhibit hall. The first time it was offered really allows a company or individual inside of a company to explore the various products that are out there, to talk directly with lenders and just to see if there are solutions that are available. The last piece of information here is shaping what it is that we do. Tamara talked at the beginning of this call about all of our policy initiatives. There are technology committees and work groups that are helping to influence what goes on and how we respond to regulators or legislators. And I'll talk a little bit more about that, but some great opportunities there. On the next slide is a little bit of information about some of our offerings. I mentioned some of the education. What I didn't go into was a little bit more about MISMO, which is the standards organization for the mortgage industry. So this organization covers the entirety of the industry, so the large ecosystem. So it's not just lending, it's mortgage insurance, title, Fannie and Freddie, it's regulators, it's anybody who are gathering together to try to work on common solutions to industry problems. And so there's a lot that goes on there. It's a very good-sized organization. It is an independent organization, but its participation is open to everyone. I mentioned regulators and all that. That is actually a place sometimes to be able to talk to them and try to collaborate on some solutions. We can certainly talk about that more for anybody who has an interest. We didn't talk about things like remote online notarization. These are emerging technology issues that also have a policy impact. And so this particular one, we have a resource center on our website. It's a great resource to see what's happening at the state level with this particular topic, which in a nutshell basically means that you can notarize a document from afar, meaning the notary might be, let's say, in Virginia, and you could be at your home in Maryland closing on a property, and that's what the concept of that is. But we've got resources that are constantly updated to tell you what's going on with that. You can get involved in MISMO. I mentioned the committees and forums. Our monthly ResTech meetings are open to everyone in the industry. They are not always heavily technical. They're intended to talk about how to use technology to solve problems. So it's probably almost 50-50 of business people and technologists who are talking about things like, blockchain or artificial intelligence or the newest regulation and how to comply. So there's quite a bit that goes on there. If you're in an organization where you are either lending or servicing loans, we have a lender CIO forum. This permits your lead technology officer to communicate on a regular basis with his peers or her peers to talk about issues that really there may not be someone else in your organization to help to talk about it with. So that's available to you. Security is out there. Security is a continuing issue for everyone in our industry. It has been, it is now, and probably will continue to be for many years, something that we are focusing on. We have resources available on the MBA website for it. We also have a work group that meets on a monthly basis to talk about issues. So certainly encourage folks who are addressing and dealing with security to participate in that and the ResTech group and the CIO group if you are, again, at a lending or servicing institution. The last thing I'd like to say is that's a lot of information. There's a lot of information we presented on this call. Please don't hesitate to email or call us. We get calls and emails every day from folks with questions about some topic or another. We will do our best to answer it or find someone who can help you as quickly as possible. It's why we're here, and certainly we enjoy actually hearing and trying to address something that might be of interest to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rick. Okay, we'll have a set of poll questions here to touch on what Rick has just covered. Rick, do you know if we're going to be repeating the Virtual Tech Marketplace live session?
I would hope so. I should have mentioned that was done yesterday for the first time. So we'll learn from it, see how to update it. But our hope there is that the virtual marketplace perhaps allows folks in your organization who can't get to every conference and are sometimes inundated by things, really to experience a lot of vendors in a very short period of time and see who's out there. So I would expect that we will repeat it.
Very good. Thank you so much. Okay. Next up is Dawn Williams, who is our Associate Vice President of Program Development, Conferences, and Meetings, and she's going to give us an overview on MBA conferences. Welcome, Dawn.
Thank you, Tricia. So I'm very happy to be here to talk to you about ways that you can engage with us and find opportunities for both business development and networking through our conferences. So the first way to engage with MBA and take advantage of your membership is simply to attend a conference. So that's the best way to be able to network with your industry peers. Just be present there and take advantage of the opportunities to attend the receptions, the sessions, and a lot more opportunities depending on the particular conference. A second way to engage with us through conferences is to partner with us on the event. That might be through sponsoring, which can lead you to opportunities to rent your own meeting space within the conference venue, or perhaps you'd like to speak on a panel. Those are also ways that you can partner with us to engage at the conference. A third way is just to increase your engagement by increasing your industry knowledge. And our conferences provide a lot of opportunities through various sessions to learn from leaders both inside and outside the industry. We also offer continuing education opportunities within the sessions. Your legal team can earn CLE credit, accountants can earn CPE credit, and we certainly have a lot of opportunities to earn compliance credit for the new CMCP program that David was just talking about through our regulatory and our legal issues conferences. And then a fourth way to engage is just to learn about the latest products and services that are available in the industry. So even if you're not the person that buys the product or service for your organization, I find that it's a great way just to learn what's new and what's out there and to really keep abreast of what's happening within the mortgage industry by having an opportunity to network and speak with some of the people providing those products and services. So now that we've talked a little bit about what you can do at the conferences, let's talk about what the conferences are. You're probably familiar with at least some of the conferences we do, but what I find is a lot of members don't realize how many there actually are. We have between 18 to 20 different conferences per year, and that's in addition to all the education events that are put on and the research events that you've heard about from some of my colleagues today. So at the top, the 5 conferences that are listed under conferences and conventions are those that have expo halls. So our annual convention is held every year in October. This year it's in DC, and that's really focused on residential side of the business. In particular, the production side, we do see servicing folks there as well. A lot of executive level and management level attendance at that conference. We just announced that we have Kelly Clarkson appearing this year, so I hope you can all join us for the conference and also attend Concert MBA, which is part of the registration. We have on the commercial multifamily side our CRES convention. That's for commercial and multifamily members, and that happens every year in February. And then our servicing conference, secondary conference, and as Rick mentioned, the technology solutions conference make up the 5 that have a large expo hall. But then we have a variety of other events, which we call our signature events and our summits. And those are targeted to particular industry segments. So if you look on this list, you see everything from legal topics to risk management topics to accounting to a conference particularly focused for the independent mortgage banker. We have a summit on diversity and inclusion, our advocacy conference, as Alden mentioned, our state and local conference. So there's just a variety of events out there that you can select from to really meet your particular need. And I'm always happy to talk to you about that. If you ever want to give me a call or send me an email, find out what some of the events might be that are good for you. And of course, Tricia and team can also help with that. So I just want to quickly just let you know that our conferences are planned by an in-house group of meeting planners. And I mention that because I just love members to know that we really do like to hear from you. Your input is a really critical part of the planning process. So whether you're on a committee or you correspond with our policy and research team in another way, we take that input very seriously in addition to people who apply to speak at conferences. And we put all that together in-house here at MBA and put the conference together based on that input. So visit our website, the conference and meetings page at mba.org, and you can click on every conference and see what the schedule is, see who's speaking, and get additional information as well. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Dawn. Okay, next set of poll questions, please. Okay. Very good, Jordan. Okay, so next up, I'm going to touch on areas for personal development and networking. MBA has created a diversity and inclusion resource center on our website, and we provide tools and resources for our members to help them initiate, enhance, or promote D&I-related efforts within their company. As Dawn had mentioned previously, we do have our upcoming Summit on Diversity and Inclusion, which will be in DC in November. We also have our company leadership awards, where we recognize member companies for their D&I efforts, and it's based on 2 categories, organizational and market outreach. And we're now taking applications through July 27th, and winners will be announced in front of our largest audience at our annual convention, which will be held in DC in October. And we also have a D&I webinar series, and you can see here some of the topics that we have, which are also complimentary to MBA members. And so I think the next one that will be upcoming is the D&I market outreach, which will be on June 20th. So feel free to learn more or jump in on any of those. And we also, as David mentioned, have the Path to Diversity and Inclusion Scholarship. And again, applicants are eligible to receive up to $2,000 on MBA education courses and products. And it's important to note these figures were just actually released yesterday. We had 86 professionals from 35 member companies. They were awarded scholarships in the first 7 months of our fiscal year. And many of them are future leaders, are using MBA education to advance their careers. So we're really proud of that number as it keeps increasing. And we also have a member-led D&I advisory committee where we together exchange information on best practices, tackle issues and potential barriers, and create networking opportunities that advance overall diversity and inclusion within the industry. And I also wanted to mention, as of this week as well, we announced the nomination of Susan Stewart who is the CEO of SWBC, to be MBA's 2019 Vice Chairman. So we're all excited, and it all ties in. Okay. And MBA and our members are also committed to giving back to the communities that we serve. And in 2011, we formed the Open Doors Foundation, which is a 501c3 charitable entity that provides mortgage and rental assistance grants to families with critically ill children. And as I stated earlier in the presentation, we have awarded over $3 million in housing assistance to families in need. And we have a President, Deb Dubois, who works with us, that works with many of our member companies to initiate some company-wide support for this foundation. And feel free to reach out to me or anyone from our staff or Deb directly, or visit MBAopensdoors.org for more information. We've also established Empower, which is a network for women. Our mission is to promote opportunities for women to extend their reach, and we provide this platform for women in our industry to strengthen their networks, achieve personal growth and development, and to exchange ideas and information about our industry. We have over 1,600 participants in the community today, and we are growing. And once you join the group, you'll receive notices of MBA's women's events, gain access to resources, and join your peers in our private-only network community. And we have multiple events on the calendar this year and going into 2019. And we have posted recently some new Empower Moments videos on this network. And we also have new complimentary webinar series, which touch on topics to help women advance their careers. We have one that's upcoming on June 20th, which is creating a work-life harmony webinar. So feel free to participate in that. And we also have Impact, which is a newer initiative for young professionals who are 35 and under in the real estate finance industry. Impact provides professional growth and development opportunities through a series of networking events that, again, we host around the country, as well as webinars. We also have an online discussion forum where members can interact with their peers. And in less than a year, we have gained over 1,000 members participating in this group, with a lot of great events planned for the remainder of this year and beyond. Again, it's free to join. It's a great way for young professionals at your company to familiarize themselves with MBA and their peers and get further engaged in our industry. We're currently forming a steering committee, and so we have a few seats left. So if you have or are a future leader and want to help shape this group and be engaged and, you know, help form it, feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Okay, quick poll questions here. I know we're running over, so I appreciate you all that are hanging on. Okay, Jordan? And this really concludes our presentation today. So we really appreciate you all for joining us. And again, I know you've heard from all of us. We want to hear from you. So feel free to reach out to any of us at any time. And we will be following up with you all after this call. And we'll be able to help you get information that you need and answer any questions you may have. So thank you all for your membership, and have a great afternoon.